Hey guys, welcome back to my lifting series where I record as much of my workouts as I possibly can. Now, of course, there are some areas of my workouts which I don't end up getting to, whether the gym is too busy or they close or I just, can't get a good angle, so I don't record it, but I keep you guys informed either way. This is week 3, day 2 of my MyoMax training program. You guys can get it down below for $10. But honestly, you don't need it at all because I share everything that I do. So if you guys want to follow along, you are more than welcome to. The real benefit of buying the program is either A, to support me, or B, if you want like the actual document so you can write down your own numbers and stuff. This training series is really so that I can become the best lifter that I possibly can, but I can also provide some insights and you guys are informed along the way and hopefully entertained as well. Today is a lower body day, so I'm actually starting with the V squat machine like last week's day 2. Last week, if you guys recall, I actually had my face against the pad, so I was squatting more back like this, and that's great because you can handle a lot more weight and actually feels more natural for my specific anatomy. However, this machine isn't really built for that, so my face was like being squished against the pad and it looked like I was face planting and couldn't breathe. So it just looked so goofy and it felt weird having my face squished, so I'm going to be flipping back around like I did in week 1 and doing it the conventional way. And the difference is basically like if you're doing it the regular way with your back against the pad, then you're going to be getting some more quad stimulus, versus the other way with your face facing it would be getting more glute and hamstring emphasis, just based off of like the biomechanics of how you're actually being forced to squat. So you're more upright with your back against the pad and your center of mass is more like over your midfoot, so you're actually getting some more quad activation through that way. Which, in hindsight is actually better for me because I'm trying to get quad growth out of this lift anyway. So anyway, let's just get right into it. By the way, I'm going down about 50 pounds just because I'm naturally stronger in the face planted position. So I'm going from, I think, 230 to 180. And I'm just counting that as just the plates that I added. So I have 2 plates on each side for a total of 180 pounds. So I'm not actually including whatever the machine is because I don't know how much it actually weighs. I am deciding to belt up just because whenever I'm wearing a belt, I can usually do like 20 to 30 more pounds and I feel much more stable. And honestly, I don't see a downside of wearing a belt. People like to say that they don't wear it because it doesn't you don't get as much core activation, but I don't think that that's true personally. I think that you still get the same amount of core activation, but you get the benefit of reduced injury risk and more core stability. Seems like a win-win in my book, but to each their own. Going for about 10, but obviously failure is failure, so. I may have been able to get one more or so, but honestly, the fact that I set that 10 rep goal, I kind of got in my head towards the end. I didn't end up going through with it, but I was definitely at least 2 reps shy of failure, and I count that as a win. I count anything from 0 to 3 reps shy of failure as a pretty successful set. I only have one like true requirement when squatting, and that's, I should probably rephrase that. I have one like requirement in terms of depth in specific, and that's just to get past 90 or parallel. So when your hip joint is aligned with your knee joint, that would be considered 90. And I think that as long as you're either getting 90 or below, then you're in the clear. Anything above that, and you're just shortchanging yourself, in my opinion. I think that you're probably just causing some unnecessary knee strain, some knee joint strain, because believe it or not, your limbs are actually meant to go through their full range of motion. And if you cut it short, you're putting some unnecessary stress on stopping it short, and it's really compounding in your knee joint. So that's why I think that you guys should go all the way down. And plus, you're not taking the quads through their full range of motion unless you're going all the way down. And the deeper down you go, the more of a stretch position that you'll be enacting, which we know that triggers more growth. And obviously you're gonna get more strength out of it. I think that the only times when a partial squats like this are okay is when you're like trying to train a specific portion of a lift for a given sport. So say you're a power lifter and you struggle in the top position for whatever reason, which I don't know why you would, but maybe you do. Then specifically training in that range of motion, your body over time will adapt to that range of motion and get stronger at that. So that can be a reason. But beyond that, I don't see a point of it. I think you're probably just doing yourself more harm than good. Anyway, set number 2. So every rep, I'm at least going down to parallel, if not deeper. It's definitely a bit harder than set number 1. And I've said things in the past like set number 2 squats are usually easier just because you're more acclimated to the movement. But in this case, it was harder. Maybe I just didn't rest long enough. Maybe I was adequately warmed up on set 1. Who could say? But it definitely felt a little bit harder, but not to the degree of I feel like it was a failure or anything. In fact, it was probably just a more productive set because that last rep felt more challenging, which is ultimately what you want. You want the last rep or two to be the most challenging in the whole set. I mean, obviously you want that, but you want it to be like a certain intensity level, like an RPE of 8 to 10 is what you want for that last rep where you like can't exert any more force or next to any more force. So yeah, I'll take it. I'll count it. Something that's been on my mind tremendously today is the topic of training while sore, because I'm extremely sore from last week for legs. And it's to the point where like every time I step up the stairs, like I feel fatigued, I feel the soreness. You know, you guys have been there, I'm sure. If you're avid lifters, you know that leg soreness is definitely the worst because it's the most debilitating. It's not to that point where it's debilitating. However, it's been making me think of, you know, how productive is this training session today going to be when I have some serious DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness rather. And to answer my own question, in my mind, if the soreness is so severe that you're having trouble with your everyday tasks, like maybe walking to the store or, you know, anything physical, then maybe you should prolong the session or replace it with a different session just to give your legs a little bit more recovery. But if you're just like low to medium soreness, I think you're probably totally fine to train, because what is delayed onset muscle soreness? Well, it basically comes about when you either have a new novel stimulus in your program, or you had an extremely intense and taxing workout. So think about beginners. They're so new to the gym, they haven't done it in a long time, or they've never done it. So when they train, they're like extremely sore. Think about advanced lifters getting into like a new program. They're also gonna get sore. But think about people who have been doing the same workout for like months. They don't really get sore anymore. They get tired. And that kind of shows you that the DOMS, the soreness thing is, there's more than meets the eye. It's not just a black and white answer of, oh, you know, I'm sore, so I need to skip this day or prolong it or replace it. That's not the case. You got to really evaluate your training and evaluate exactly how you're feeling to make the judgment more accurate. So for me, it's a soreness for sure. I feel it. It's kind of affecting me, but it's not to the point where it's overbearing. So I'm in the gym and I'm working out, and I'm gonna try my best. And you know, last time, yes, it was an intense workout, but you know, these workouts are still kind of novel. So I think that was probably the issue, because last week was 15 sets, and 15 sets for the legs, while it's a lot, it's not something where, you know, I need like a whole week before I can hit it again. Anyway, that was on my mind, so I thought I'd bring it up. Let's get into the third and final set of this exercise. Okay, let's move on. So I'm posted up at the next exercise, which is the Barbell Romanian deadlift. And I just wanted to touch on the idea of consistency and discipline versus motivation, because for a lot of people, it seems like they need a motivating factor. You know, they need like some motivational videos, they need a pep talk, they need somebody to just hype them up, or somebody to be like, hey, we're going to the gym at this time, you better not be late or else. And while I think that that's great, and that can lead to some of the best workouts ever, I know that it has for me. When I'm really motivated and in a good mood, I get like the best pumps, the best workouts that I ever have in my life. However, motivation and, you know, just pep talks and stuff like that can be very fleeting, because the mood is not always going to strike. I mean, we're human beings, for Christ's sake. Like, eventually you're going to have a bad day and you're going to want to skip the gym. And, you know, that's totally up to your discretion on whether you want to. But for me, discipline and consistency and just making sure that you show up, having it as something that's like a must do, is the only approach that actually lasts, for me anyway. Because for me, you know, maybe I'll have a bad day, and then the last thing I want to be doing is working out. I know that for a fact. So, and I know that from experience. You know, if I have a bad day, the first thing that's going is probably my workout, and I'm more inclined to go and get fast food. You know, nobody's perfect, and we can't always be perfect all the time. And that's where discipline and consistency comes in. That's where building the habit of going to the gym comes in, and saying, oh, you know, I go to the gym at this time, and I go this many days a week, and I don't miss workouts unless it's an absolute must. And I think that that's, more often than not, is probably the best way to go about it, because, as I already said, discipline is longer lasting and motivation can be fleeting. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that really quick. So honestly, I'm doing quite a big jump, to be honest. I'm going from 245 to 275. So this is a 30-pound jump. So it's a pretty large one, but I've been all the way up to 3 plates on each side. So 315 for like a set of 6. and I feel like I'm getting back up to that, my, you know, top body weight that I've been. So I think that I can handle it. As long as I get 6, at least 6, then I'll be happy with this. And if I don't, then I'm gonna drop back down. And that's of course counting that I'm getting good form, but we'll see. I was going for that 7th, but I kind of lost it towards the end. I got a little bit of, I think I ended up putting a little bit of doubt in my heart towards the end by setting that expectation of 6. I've talked about that idea many times of if you have a certain rep goal in mind, you're going to be more tempted to stop there because you're like checking off that box. Since you got it, you're like, oh, I already made it, so I could stop. But our bodies get stronger, you know? So you have to be pushing your limit no matter what rep you're at. The reps are just arbitrary. It's just us putting labels on it. But to our bodies don't know the difference between doing 6 reps and 7. Our bodies are, you know, our muscles only know tension. So me doing 6 here and stopping when I probably could have gone 7, not ideal. That being said, I'm not displeased with it because, you know, this is a 30-pound jump and I only got 2 reps lower. So, you know, I'm not too surprised. I'm not too displeased, but I need to try and conquer that little mindset rut that I've been putting myself in. After reviewing the footage, I'm honestly kind of happy with that set because my form was really controlled. In fact, am I alone in thinking this, that the heavier that I go on this exercise, the barbell Romanian deadlift, the actually easier it is for my form to be really good. For whatever reason, when I'm doing like the bar or something versus like heavier weight, it actually feels easier to do it. And actually that's the same with like something like a barbell back squat for me too. Just doing it without weights is actually more harder to lock in my form. And with the barbell back squat, and I guess with this too, I mean, the way I think of that is, you know, I have a bunch of weight on my back, so it's kind of forcing me into a certain position. And, you know, maybe that's like the secret right there, is that it's forcing me into having good form, because if I don't, then I wouldn't be able to lift the weight at all. It was something that I noticed that I thought was kind of odd. All right, let's go for at least 6 again. Here I go labeling the reps again, but whatever, I suppose. Oh yeah, I got 7 that time. Let's fucking go. And my secret there was I basically just stopped thinking about the reps. I just kind of got in my own head because way back there's a mirror, so I was trying to make sure that my form was locked down. Success through distraction. All right, just one more set of these like very, very challenging exercises. You know, this is the second like primary compound lift of the day. Of course, we got one more. I'm going to be doing hip thrusts right after this, like I mentioned earlier. I'm thinking for the hip thrusts, I'll probably keep the weight the same. I as I'm doing here. And that's really for 2 reasons I can think of off the top of my head. For one, I'm lazy and I don't want to change the weight. For 2, my glutes are already pretty warmed up. You know, they were worked to, granted a smaller degree in the squats, but still worked nonetheless. And they're being worked tremendously right now in the RDL. So my glutes are like good to go, and that's the primary mover of the barbell hip thrust. So I believe that I can do it. And honestly, number 3, I got number 3. Last week, I did hip thrusts with 225 pounds for 3 sets. And, you know, it wasn't that hard. I got 10 reps for relative ease, and then some rest pause sets with relative ease. So I don't see it being a problem. I may kind of like phone it in for the rest pause portion of each set, but we'll just see how the actual set goes. Okay. Come on. And Fuck, 7's really difficult, but I know that is without a doubt my breaking point. Even just setting it down and lowering it is a pain in the ass. So I know that there's no way I could be doing 8 reps. So that only reinforces that I'm doing it right here. I'm honestly considering bringing like an intro workout snack, because a lot of people that are super serious about their training and, you know, they go a lot and they do very, very long workouts, they bring like some sort of carbs and sugar just to like refuel them in the middle of their workout, intro workout. Like they'll bring like, I know somebody brings like a Rice Krispie treats. You know, some people, they'll bring like a banana or something. And as my program becomes more and more intense, I'm more and more tempted to think of and execute ways that can assist me with not only my recovery, but also my performance. Because even just earlier, I was talking about how I'm sore today, but I'm going anyway. And if this is a problem week 30, it may end up being a problem in week 9 as well. So, you know, I'm kind of looking for ways that I can like fuel my training and make sure that I'm recovered beyond the conventional recovery methods of, you know, eat enough protein, sleep enough, take it easy, stuff like that. So I'm leaning towards intra workout treats. And on top of that, maybe taking some pre-workout. To be honest, I haven't taken pre-workout in forever. Just because I feel like the main ingredient that makes pre-workout so appealing is just caffeine, good old-fashioned caffeine. So I just drink coffee, and sometimes I'll take caffeine pills because they're quick and easy and super, super cheap. But you know, there are certain benefits of pre-workout beyond that of just caffeine. They're not as substantial, but like beta-alanine, people love that compound, and basically what that's responsible for is, you know, that tingly sensation that you get when you take a stimulant pre-workouts, and it makes you just, your skin crawl and makes you feel like you have to lift something to get rid of the feeling. Yeah, that's beta-alanine. And part of me kind of misses it just because, you know, it's intense. Anyway, enough chatting, enough talking. I know you guys aren't here just for the talks. At least I hope you're not. Honestly, like, I needed the rest anyway, though, so the talk was probably good. Let's get into it. I have no idea how many reps I'm going to get here because this is a This is a 50-pound jump. Oh man, guys, I think I'm gonna be skipping the rest pause on this one. I would love to be able to just do a good old-fashioned drop set. However, the amount of effort that it's gonna take to strip off the weights from this barbell, this stationary barbell, is going to take so long and so much effort that by the time I get into the next set, I mean, I could basically just do another straight set at that point. And it's so heavy that I just don't really think that you know what, fuck it. Okay, I'll just do it. No excuses. Not really ideal. However, we're gonna take it, okay? I don't see this very often, but on occasion I'll see people wearing gloves to the gym. And, you know, on one hand, like, it makes sense if you're having trouble gripping things. Maybe you're like super sweaty or something, or, you know, like your hands are fucked up, or maybe your calluses are torn and they hurt. But beyond that, I don't really get it. I feel like who doesn't want the lifting calluses? I personally think that they're kind of badass. You know, it means that you've been actually using your hands to lift actual iron and whatnot, you know? And I think that that's cool. And honestly, like if your hands are getting sweaty and you can't grip something, then I think that chalk is a great answer to that. So I don't really know why you would end up wearing lifting straps, but I'm not here to judge people. I've just kind of noticed that. And, you know, I mean, there was a time back in my late teen years where I bought lifting gloves, and, you know, I wore those, and that's when I was really big into like heavy, like partial rep deadlifts. Something that now in hindsight, I would probably never go back to again, because I think that honestly it wasn't really the best use of my time. But back then, you know, I was lifting such heavy weights for those partial reps that having lifting gloves was kind of a must, because they would just tear open my hands, especially the certain bars at the gym that I would go to. The knurlings were really intense. But nowadays, you know, I'm lifting, I'm doing like regular lifts, like more tried and true lifts, and, you know, I that's why I don't have a use for them. All right, let's do set number 2, guys. Still got the rest pause. That's why I'm not celebrating quite yet. I'll tell you guys, I've been so incredibly sore these last few days in the best way possible. Like, no like difficulties with the soreness, but I felt like so tight in all like the best ways, you know? I personally like being sore. Up to a certain point, of course. It means that you've done something. It's a reminder that you put in the work. Okay, let's just cut to the last set, shall we? Of course I need a sec. It's called rest pause for a reason. So I'm gonna take like 30 seconds and crank out a few more. I'm gonna aim for 4 because that's what I got on set number 1 and number 2. Okay, let's do it. Okay guys, next up I got the machine leg press for some more quad activation and quad volume. So let's cut to that. Okay, so I actually lied. The machine is being used right now, so I'm just gonna skip to the next exercise, which is the prone hamstring curl. This one's just really to get some more hamstring activation, but in a different way. So this one's more single joint rather than multi-joint, so it's more of a isolation lift at its core. And on top of that, the RDL variation, the barbell RDL, that one works the hamstrings in the lengthened position, so you're really getting that stretch component, versus this variation works it in the shortened position, so you're getting more of that contracted component. And whenever you can include both, I think that that's probably the ideal way to go. Anyway, I'm going up from 95 to 100. We're doing a drop set here. Okay, and then I'm gonna do 70 for the drop set. It's definitely a PR. I mean, I went up in weight for both the straight set and the drop set portion. I don't think the reps were pretty similar, so I'll take it. So with an exercise like the prone hamstring curl, I'm really emphasizing that full range of motion. And therefore, I'm particularly making sure that the machine is kind of adapting to my anatomy instead of my anatomy having to adapt to the machine. And what I mean by that is I have the pad as low as it can go down, so that when my heels go all the way down and I get the biggest hamstring stretch position that I can possibly surmise, you're gonna want the pad all the way down so that the machine doesn't stop before you actually get that full range of motion. Another thing is I have the pad as far back as it can go because I want it as far back on my heel as I can get it. The higher up on like your calf that it may be, the shorter the range of motion is going to be and the easier it's going to make the exercise, because anything that's closer towards the hamstring is automatically going to be easier. That's just lever arms in a nutshell. So the further away the resistance is, the more challenging and the more motor recruitment is going to be required of the hamstrings in order to lift the load. So that's kind of like the way that I set up the machine. And then also I'm trying not to like use my hip thrust to get the weight up, and I'm trying not to use my torso to get the weight up, at least not until the very end. I'm sure that you guys noticed I cheat a little bit towards the very end on the last set. So I'm actually going all the way down until it just like barely hits, until the weights barely hit. Okay, now for the drop set, I'm going down to 70, from 100 to 70. Okay, that'll do it for this exercise. All right, luckily I got the exercise that I wanted to next. I always get a little bit stressed out when I have to change up the order of things, because I don't want a certain exercise that's supposed to be in like the beginning portion of a workout to be pushed all the way back, because that's going to totally mess with my ability to be able to beat my personal record and progressively overload the movement to the best of my ability. That's substantially going to mess with it. And in fact, it tempts me to just kind of wait around until somebody's done. However, I don't have all day here. You know, working out isn't meant to be anybody's life. Working out is just supposed to be a supplement and enhance somebody's life. You know, it's not supposed to consume them or anything. So what I'm trying to say is I don't want to be in the gym all day. I'm already in here quite enough, I think. So anyway, let's get into it. I'm going up, what is that, 15 pounds to 255. And we're just gonna go to failure, then do some long length partials at the end for 3 sets here. Again, I'm trying to get to parallel or deeper. Same logic as on a squat movement. Shoot. Shit. I was really wanting to get 5 long length partials there, but they were much more challenging than I predicted. So I only ended up getting 3, but I mean, if anything, that just speaks to the quality of the set that I just produced, because the higher the quality of your set, the less amount of long length partials you're going to be able to produce. So, you know, I'll take it. I think, what was that, 13? I'm gonna have to rewatch the footage. I kind of lost count towards the end. Last week I got 15, but you know, we're going up. So I think that's kind of the trend with today's workouts, is going up in weight and decreasing reps. And honestly, I think that if my legs weren't so tired and sore, then I probably could increase weight and at least match or increase the reps too. But you know, not every day is gonna be the pitch perfect progression. Not every day you just gonna be like slamming the weights around and crushing PRs and, you know, be like pain-free and sore-free and everything like that. In fact, if anything, it's probably a good thing that you have some bad days, because that just shows that you're pushing your body to its absolute limits, you know. But anyway, that was just my little rant. We're doing 3 sets here, and that'll bring us up to 8 sets for each muscle group. So we did 3 sets of squats, then 3 sets of these, and then we're going to be doing 2 sets of quad extensions for a total of 8 sets for quads, for direct quad work. And then same deal with the hamstrings. We did 3 sets of the RDL, 3 sets of the hip thrust, and then I just did 2 sets of the prone hamstring curl. So that's also 8 sets. And then, you know, basically how I'm counting my glute work is on things like the barbell RDL and something like the V squat machine. I count that as half sets for the glutes, because while the glutes are hugely involved in both of those movements, I wouldn't count them as the primary movers. So whenever you have a secondary mover in a lift, say you're doing like a barbell bent over row, the primary mover is going to be your back, and the secondary mover is going to be your biceps and your forearms. So you would only count that as half when you're trying to calculate your volume. There's a certain term for that. I think it's like fractional volume or something like that. That's like the term people use. So basically, glutes are around 8 sets as well, because we did, it would be 1.5 for each of for the RDL and the V squat machine, 1.5 each for a total of 3. And then we hit 3 sets of the hip thrusts, which brings it up to 6. And then, wait, I think that the way I was counting it was I was having the RDL basically be like full sets for the glutes, because it is a hip thrust. If you think about it, it is a hip hinge rather. So, you know, that's 3, 6 for the hip thrusts, 3 for the RDL for your total of 6. And then, you know, you got 1.5 from the squat for, you know, that's 7.5. And then, you know, rounding up or whatever, that's 8. So, you know, not everything's always perfect and on the money, but trust me, it evens out by the end. Okay. Sit number 2. Okay, let's just go ahead and cut this set numero tripping over my words, numero tres. Ooh. I don't know if you guys are a similar way, but whenever I like accidentally end up hitting the bottom of any machine where, you know, the weight pins or, you know, the weight stack rather hits, then I lose so much momentum and power. It's because you totally lose that rebound effect. You know, like when you're at the bottom of a squat, like a free weight squat versus a box squat. In a box squat, when you go down, you're sitting down, you're losing all that power, but that's the point. You're supposed to explode from a like very stationary position, versus when you're doing a barbell back squat without a box, you're going all the way down, and then you kind of get that rebounding effect at the bottom, where you get like that ultra stretch stimulus, and you actually kind of get some more power out of the hole. That happened to me once or twice on this, not on this particular set, but earlier, where when I hit the bottom, I felt like I lost a little bit of power because you're coming to a halt and you're ruining that kind of momentum that you had. The same thing happened on the prone hamstring curl to me too. That one was really severe. It kind of messed up my set a little bit. So it's kind of just something to keep in mind. Some people may want to have that stopping point, because then you really have to put a lot of force output to lift the weight back up. But I think for most people, they don't really want that. So this is one of the few movements where I'm actually choosing to keep the weight the same. Mainly that's just because it was challenging last time, and I don't really feel the need to increase it any more than it's already increased. Like, it's at a good amount. And I only think that you should be increasing stuff when you're ready to do so. But the other school of thought here is, this is near the very end of the workout and my quads are just fried. By the way, this is the unilateral quad extension. Anyway, let's just get right into it. Okay, so if you don't know by now, I do, for this particular machine, I do bilaterally and then I swap to unilaterally until failure. Oof. Yep, that was just as hard as I remember. Maybe like a hair easier. Maybe just a hair. So I think I am getting stronger at this. Especially, I mean, guys, whatever you put a lot of effort into, you are going to get better at. That's for anything in life, but especially holds true with lifting. If you guys aren't putting the effort in, then you're just not going to improve. But if you are putting the effort in day after day, you're going to see the results. Whether you are eating enough or not, you're still going to see some sort of results. But of course, if you're eating more and you have all your ducks in a row and you're doing everything right, you're going to see more results than you may if you didn't, which is kind of different from like other activities like, you know, skateboarding, for example. More time you put in, the more you're going to get out. And with skateboarding, your recovery doesn't have to be like perfect and everything. Though, you know, it's probably important to a certain degree, but it's not as important as lifting, especially hypertrophic lifting, where you're trying to put on muscle, because that's actually a physiological response. But, you know, it still holds true that the more effort you put in, the more you'll get out of it. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. All right, I'm ready to, honestly, the gym closes in 35 minutes, I think. And I don't know if I've talked about, I haven't talked about this in a very long time, but I try to use a sauna after each and every weight workout. Just because for me, it promotes recovery. Like, it relaxes me to a huge extent. It just helps me get into that parasympathetic mode of the nervous system, which is your like rest and digest wing of the nervous system, versus your sympathetic wing of the nervous system is like your flight or fight response. And that's hugely active while you're working out, because after all, lifting is a ginormous stressor upon your body. So the quicker you can get into that rest and digest parasympathetic wing of the nervous system, the better off you're gonna be, because you have to recover from this stress that we call training, muscular training. So the quicker you can get into it, the better. And for me, the sauna helps relax me. And I think that most people would agree the sauna is a relaxation promoting tool. And on top of that, like, it helps me sleep and stuff, which is great too. So I prefer to hit it. I hit it every time that I have time. Every session that I have time to hit it at the end, I do so. All right. Shoot, I haven't done it in a while, but I was kind of rushing my reps towards the end because it was getting challenging. I've been good about that. I think I spoke on that in the past, maybe in Hypertrophy 1.0, where, you know, you're tempted to rush through the ending reps of a leg extension. So I've been working on that one. I've been doing pretty good. I started to at the end there, but I caught myself. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is going to conclude week 3, day 2, the first lower body of week 3. I still have 2 exercises to do, but I'm going to do them off camera because calf training isn't that entertaining to watch. And I got to rush to the sauna. So I'm going to be doing 3 sets of standing calf raises and 2 sets of the seated diagonal kind of machine calf raises. So after that, I'm going to be hitting the sauna. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for week 3, day 3, and accessory day.